I'm joined by Dr. Alex Allison, and we're talking about events that have gone on in the Isle of Man. Can we now move on to the education side of things? We've got the cancellation of exams. That couldn't have been another easy option to take, but you have to stand by that one now because I presume there's no other options.
There were lots of options given to us. So again, we in the United Kingdom, obviously in January, they announced that they were going to cancel all the GCSE and A-level exams. We, for some of our exams, used a different board, Cambridge International, and they gave us the choice, basically. They said, we can run the exams if you'd like, because they're running exams around the world, or you can cancel them. So what we needed to do was actually consult with the head teachers, get a consensus across the island of what was the best thing to do. I also had several conversations with parents, had a fantastic letter from all the head boys and head girls on the Isle of Man, actually saying what they wanted, and they wanted exams to be cancelled. And so we put all that together and then made the call to cancel them. It's not an easy decision because the options are exams in some ways are fairly straightforward. You sit them, you pass or you fail, you get your grades. I was talking to one of our great head teachers today, and she explained the amount of work teachers are now going to have to do to actually assess people, not on the curriculum, but on what they've actually learned, which is the most important thing. Because of the disruption to people's educations, we need to work with teachers to support teachers to get these assessment rights. We need to have a really clear appeals process for when people don't think they've got the right grade. That's going to take an awful lot of time and resources. And as a department, we are backing our teachers and supporting them to get there.
Well, last time around, there was still some activity with the hub schools. That hasn't been effective. You've actually completely knocked that one on the head. So,
if I can stop you there, we did try. When we closed all schools down on Tuesday, we reopened them on the Wednesday for vulnerable children and those of key workers. We learned from the last two lockdowns. We talked to head teachers, and they said, look, last time we all went into hubs, and so we all moved into certain schools. This time we'd like to work in our own schools and do the social distancing there, because then it's a lot easier to get back to normality once you can. So we did that from the Wednesday and Thursday. By Thursday, it was quite clear that the infection was spreading through our schools, that it was affecting not only staff but pupils as well. And there was a real worry from public health that actually, rather than schools being safe for children, they were in some ways being a bit of a breeding ground. The children were bringing the infection from their households into schools, spreading it, and then it was going back. And so with the quick increasing numbers of cases, we had to close down schools, nurseries, playgroups, childminders as much as we could to make people stay at home. And I really regret that because of the knock-on effects it's had. Now, obviously, the challenge is to reopen them again, even though we've got sporadic cases in our community. And that's going to take some doing. We're working very closely with teachers, with public health, to reopen schools on the 12th, but we're going to have to see what the situation's like at that time to actually achieve what we need, which is to get those kids back, particularly those doing GCSEs and A-levels, so they can have the assessments they need to get the grades. And this is going to be a complex task to get this right.
So still looking at a hub startup at some point before the full return?
Well, the Easter holidays start on Friday, and we looked at the logistics of starting up a hub school, bringing children in from all over the island into one particular place. We did try to begin with and desperately tried to make this work. When we looked at then the number of cases, particularly amongst school-aged children, it became unfeasible. What we tried to do is really provide childcare and education to those critical workers, particularly those working at Nobles. And we've got various plans for the next 3 weeks to achieve that so that we can keep those essential services such as ITU going. What we're planning on doing is on the 12th, reopen all schools, but we may need to do a phased return of students back according to what the situation is at the time. We'll be concentrating again on vulnerable children, those critical workers, but also those children in years 11 and 13 who really need to be at school to get the assessments they need to get the grades they deserve.
And how are things going with teachers? Because obviously we're still in the middle of some sort of dispute, although that's on the back burner, I suppose, really. But have you got the support of the teachers and the unions?
The whole idea after the Beeman's report and after going to Tynwald was to change the culture of the department to heal what had been a fractured relationship with our teachers. I think you should probably ask them rather than me. I think we've made inroads. I think we're listening more. I think we're taking on board what they say more. I think we're doing more with head teachers. one of the positives that's come out of what's been a dreadful 12 months for all of us is the ability to do things online, the ability to have an interview with you at 5 minutes notice if I need to. We've been doing exactly the same with teachers, that the chief executives and the officers have been meeting with all the head teachers on a regular basis right the way through this, so that we keep that communication going. We know where people need help, we know where people need support, but also we can use their ideas to feed that back for a strategy. So I am confident that we've turned a major corner in the last 6 months in terms of our relationship with teachers, and we can build on that to really improve the education service for all the people who use it on the Isle of Man.
And how do you get the message across to the youngsters about social distancing? Because there's been so many reports of people meeting up in parks. I'm talking about youngsters now. Yep. They do have an invincibility about them, don't they? Yet they are susceptible to this. Although we're still not hearing anything serious. Am I still right on that? There's nothing seriously as far as Nobles Hospital or anything with the younger generation here at the minute?
Yeah, I mean, although the Kent variant is far more infectious, and it may cause slightly more serious illness in those susceptible people, it still doesn't seem to be making younger people sick. So I think you're quite right. I mean, the way we now need to control this outbreak is through changing people's behaviour, and that's incredibly difficult when you're a young person. Because when you're a young person, yes, you are invincible. You know it's not going to affect you as much as your grandparents. And again, I think we should be quite careful. We don't blame young people for doing this. At the end of last year, people were really worried about students coming back and spreading the infection, and there was a bit of a blame game there. I can't blame young people for wanting to go out and be with their friends, but what we need to do is say, for the good of yourself, for the good of your family and those you care for, and for the good of our community, please don't do that for the time being. Please stay socially distanced. Please stay at home, because that way we can get back to normal as soon as possible. But that is a difficult message. What I'd like to say to young people is I know what you've lost. I know you've lost friends, education. I know you've lost that social contact. But we need to do this as a community to get through what may be, the next couple of weeks, until we can eradicate the virus and get back to normality, or until we get to a point whereby we can reopen schools and parts of the economy, but with mitigation such as social distancing and masks if we really need to do so.
You gave me an interview before the lockdown, and it was a really interesting one. Getting really into you and how you take this on board. And you were finding, just in general, you kind of indicated that you find some of this quite wearing and taxing. Has this put extra pressure on you, all these issues over the last few weeks?
Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily want to talk about myself, but yes, I think all of us have taken this last lockdown personally. I'm sitting at home at the moment, and I'm in a political bubble. I haven't, it's very hard to go out and get a different sense of perspective. And again, some of the anger I've seen from political members and from members of the public who've contacted me, I completely understand. You need that perspective. You need to go out and get a bit of fresh air and meet constituents. I was really lucky yesterday to be able to walk down Ramsey Beach for half an hour and not bumped in, being figuratively. Obviously, we were meters apart and shouting at each other. But actually talking to people I know and getting their feedback, and everyone's finding this is a real struggle. And that's affected all of us and affected the way we deal with each other. What we need is to make, I suppose, is to remind ourselves we are a compassionate community. We are here to look after each other. We're here to do the right thing, to stay at home, to get through this. And we will do. I've got no doubt about this. But lots of people have been saying, this going to be the last lockdown? By accelerating the vaccination program, I sincerely hope it is. It's the last time I have to do this virtually. Next time I can be in your studio.
And it's a tough one now for the Isle of Man, because we're seeing Guernsey and Jersey effectively seeing life back to normality. Certainly Guernsey's been making the news today for that. We saw what was going on there. We were just on the same sort of flight path, aren't we? And to have that, it initially said 3 weeks lockdown, was just nonsense, really, wasn't it? Because until these unexplained ones disappear completely, the clock doesn't even start ticking.
No, I disagree. I mean, what we're seeing is different countries going through the same thing at different times. We've seen the UK going through a huge wave over Christmas and afterwards, and just coming out of it now with decreasing numbers. Now, part of that's due to the vaccination campaign, part of that's due to the natural history of seasonal viruses. We're now seeing places such as France and Germany having what England had back in December, January. It's hitting them now. We're seeing countries like New Zealand and Australia having issues which have been virus-free for months. having to lock down. Jersey and Guernsey had problems far before us. When we had the outbreak in January, we managed to get that under control very, very quickly and then came out of it. Then we had the whole episode in terms of the unfortunate member of crew of the steam packing company. Again, not blaming the person themselves. Nobody wants to get this virus, but they did. And all the cases we've had since then, according to public health, looking at the genomics of it, trace back to that one person reintroducing it, which is different to where we were this time last year, where we had about 30, perhaps 40 people all coming back from Spain roughly the same time from holiday, who brought it back through multiple different channels. This has all been from the one person. But again, because we're dealing with a different variant here, it is spread in a different way, a lot more aggressive, affected a lot more people, and we need to spend perhaps more effort and more time to get it under control.
Are you comfortable about the government sort of investigating themselves over that matter with the person?
Yeah, I mean, I think when you're dealing with the steam packet company and dealing with what happened around that, you need to be sensitive for the people involved. Right the way through the crew, who have been doing fantastic work all the way through what's been a very difficult period for the whole island. We need to investigate it properly. We need to get the groundwork there, find out all the facts, get all that documented. But the Public Accounts Committee is going to look into it as well. So the review that's being done by the Audit Office, I think, will lay the groundwork for perhaps a bigger bit of work later on, looking into a whole range of aspects. I'm in front of a committee early next month to, again, go through what happens in education. I know politicians want to have various inquiries about what we've done, both in terms of the decisions we've made, but also the decision-making process, and make sure that's right and we're getting as much information to make those decisions. But as I've said previously, sometimes there is no right or wrong. It is a judgment call, and as politicians, we've got to make that judgment sometimes at very, very quick, fast notice, and then stand by that, but also constantly reevaluate it. So if we're not sure what's going to be happening on the Saturday, we look on it again on the Sunday. If we're not sure on the Sunday, we make a call, we review it again on the Monday, which is what we've been trying to do all the way through. Because if people want certainty, we haven't had that for the last 12 months. Let's be honest about it. We've had to make some judgment calls, all of us, from those people who've been shielding since February last year because they saw the stuff on the news and knew it was coming. They made the right decision for them. Now we've got to make the right decision for our community.
Finally, the vaccination programme and the speed and the controversy about which one to have and how fast it's going out. I don't know, maybe with the doctor's head on this one as well as a politician. Are you feeling it's going all right?
Yeah, actually, again, with the vaccination programme, if you'd have told me this time last year, that we'd have a vaccine, in fact, 2 vaccines and a couple of others on the way, that were 95% effective against death for coronavirus, I'd have laughed at you. I'd have said, don't be silly. Yeah, it's going to take ages. We've got them now. We've given tens of thousands of doses to people, but we are constrained by the supplies coming through in the UK. It's going to be really interesting to see what happens with the European Union in terms of some of the rhetoric that they've been using. We need to have a resilient service that vaccinates all the high-risk people. This week, letters will be starting to be sent out for everyone over the age of 50, that first phase of those high-risk people. So by next month, almost everyone over the age of 50 would have had their first vaccination, which we know confers a huge amount of protection. We've done very well. Are other people doing it faster? They possibly are, but we've been fairly comprehensive. We've got 100% of our people in nursing homes vaccinated. They haven't done that in the UK. We've offered vaccinations to every single health and social care worker. They haven't done that in the UK. I've talked to colleagues over there. They're still waiting for their appointment. We actually have done quite a bit. Yes, I know people are frustrated. Yes, I know they want the vaccinations done straight away, but we will get there. And while we do, we will try to bring everyone along with us and make sure nobody's left behind.
Have you had your letter yet? And do you mind which one you're getting?
I haven't had my letter yet. I was offered it as a doctor. Got an email about it, but I haven't been practicing, unfortunately, for since Christmas because of everything that's been going on. So I'm waiting for the letter. I will have whatever I'm offered, to be honest with you. My father has had the Pfizer. I'm in the UK. My sister has had the AstraZeneca in the UK. My son in Canada, because he works with kids, he's had the AstraZeneca as well. They're both fantastic vaccines. I'll have whatever they've got for me.
And finally, what day do you think we're going to be out of lockdown, or is it just too difficult to say that?
We are proposing to open schools on the 12th. I think by the 6th we'll have a much better idea. And the Chief Minister's signalled this already, so I'm not spoiling anything. But by the 6th, hopefully we'll be able to start opening up outdoor activities, getting people out in the open more, perhaps outdoor construction, some other, some of the services getting going. I think, again, I completely understand people are frustrated. They want to get back to a sense of normality. We need to do that safely. But there will be a real emphasis from the government, if we can, to get things opened on the 12th as much as possible, and then keep on reviewing the situation, because we can't go back straight into lockdown. We have to do it carefully. We have to make sure people are safe.